Welcome to the channel. If I only made one video in a year, it would probably be the one where I come back to remember all the games I completed during that year. Completed in this case means that I have at least played the main story of the game. I will not show any spoilers. All the footage you see here is from some demo released by the publisher or something similar. So let's begin. Scarlet Nexus is a story-driven manga button-smashing adventure. You can do optional story missions and I think they are recommended for character progression. You can choose from two different characters and the story is at least somewhat different with both of them, though I had enough after one playthrough. The game recycles almost all of the enemies and that for me makes the game feel cheap. But it's a decent interactive manga movie and it would be better as a real movie instead of a game, in my opinion. But if you like this style of manga games, then you are likely not gonna be disappointed. Horizon Forbidden West is clearly one of the best games I played this year. It improves the original and makes it bigger and adds more gameplay features like different style of weapons and skill tree for Aloy. This sequel also have some aspects not so successful like the text selector from which you have to be rotating constantly because quests involve a lot more talking this time around. The base feels like a ship from Mass Effect game. People you collect throughout the game go there and they constantly have something new to say, some new quests to give. So much so that sometimes it felt like a chore to go through that same text selector from the previous game. They should have replaced that selector with something else. I'm not sure if there is a need for third Horizon game, but the ending clearly sets up a sequel, and if Aloy gets a proper ending for her journey, I will be there to see it through. This is a preference, but for me Aloy is a very likable character, and of course I will also buy the story DLC when it releases next year. Triangle Strategy is a turn-based strategy tactics game with just enough character development and applying tactics to make the actual gameplay fun enough, but the gameplay is not the best part of this game. The best part is that you can really affect how this Game of Thrones-like story progresses and what kind of fate awaits your main protagonist in the end. Your gameplay style also affects which characters you get to your party. It has some kind of point system and you need to achieve certain amount of points to get every new characters to your party. I liked this game very much and now I'm currently playing similar Ogre Battle Reborn, but that's gonna be one of my 2023 completed games. Valkyria Chronicles is very similar to Valkyria Chronicles 4 with different story and characters obviously. If you have played Valkyria Chronicles 4 then this game feels a little bit simplified because Valkyria Chronicles 4 has more classes. Boss battles in this game can take a long time and especially the final boss took me many tries and maybe like 3 hours to beat. Afterwards I watched a video that showed how you could have beaten it in few minutes by, and not even few minutes, but even faster by using machine gunner combo only. Every time one of your teammates dies, you can easily feel like you wanna start from the previous save. Although I didn't do that, I took the being upset after some of those favorite characters of mine died permanently. That's just part of what makes this game worth playing. I also discovered that if most of your squad members are over-leveled scouts, then it's much faster to go through all the missions. If you liked Valkyria Chronicles 4, then you will probably find this one worth playing because it's mostly the exact same fun. Control for me was my least favorite game of the year. It felt like an indie game, even though it was full AAA release. I didn't really get the horror element. Same enemies were repeated throughout the entire game. Character progression for me was confusing. I googled some of the puzzles because I couldn't make myself to run around the map to find out where exactly to go next. I just wanted to finish the game because I started it and it was also one of the free Epic Game Store offers. Whenever there is a new Souls game released, I must have it. I've played all the recent ones starting from Dark Souls 1. I never played the original Demon's Souls, but I did play the remake, obviously. Now we finally got the first open world Souls game. This was also most definitely the longest Souls game ever made. Even if the map was huge, it didn't take that long to get wherever you wanted to go because of the horse that you get in the beginning of the game. Recycling bosses and recycling enemies has become a problem for so many games. The boss recycling doesn't make the game better for me. Once again, it made the game feel not better. The tree boss was recycled around 10 times or so. If you have played this game, you know which one I'm talking about. The lore and side quests in this game are great. I didn't have patience to find out everything by myself, and I looked up some of the most important item locations. Bosses are so difficult that even if you power level in the best spots, you still need the proper gear to beat all of those difficult bosses. It took me about 80 hours before the credits rolling, and I googled a lot of stuff. I played the entire thing blind. If I had played the entire thing blind, it would have probably taken me 150 hours to beat this game. It was not a surprise this game was selected as the game of the year, and I'm not disappointed for that. Gears of War 5 wasn't that impressive for me. It tried to bring open world to the Gears series, but it felt like it was only added so that they can say it's now open world. The open world had no meaning whatsoever. It allowed some kind of exploration, I guess, but it was extremely bland. I mostly managed to play this because of the story, and some boss battles were at least a little bit fun. Gears of War 4, in my opinion, is a better game, so I would instead recommend that one. I started playing Disgaea 5 almost 4 years ago or so, and I never managed to hold interest. Only now that I took more detailed look into it, I realized that you can reset character levels, keeping at least most of the stats and then leveling from the beginning to get much more powerful character. I ended up finishing the game using mostly the main protagonist Gilia and the dirty-mouthed mage, whose name I just can't remember right now. They just ended up becoming almost invincible, and I also had a couple of well leveled up healers, so there is that. The game got better the more I played it, so I guess it was okay, but I'm not gonna start a new Disgaea game anytime soon. Stray is the only modern serious cat game that I know of. It's part of the extended PS Plus subscription, so you didn't have to buy it to play it, and it will only take 5+ hours to complete. So it was just so easy to complete, and also it was not a bad game. The story was interesting, emotional, and the cat behaved like cats do. If this game ever gets a sequel, I will most likely play it. It also got some of the Game of the Year awards, which was a bit surprising to me. Ys Origin was the most random purchase of the year for me. I was taking a short Helsinki vacation, there was a new video game store just opened and of course I had to check it out. Ys Origin was in a nice discount and I wanted something to take home with me, so I bought it. I also had time to play it soon after and the game is somewhat addicting. It has difficult, interesting bosses that you just don't want to stop trying before you beat them. It's easy to level up if you find some section too challenging. It's a mix of Zelda-like action and hack and slash. To see the full story, you would have to play the game with all 3 characters. I only played the warrior, so I haven't really completed the story. The time will tell if I someday manage to play the other 2 character stories. Plague Tale Requirement. Now, how do I spell it? Plague Tale Requiem is my game of the year. It's just so great and it improves from the first game so much. I was happy to see Plague Tale Requiem. I don't know how to spell this. But anyways, I was happy to see it nominated for Game of the Year. As I said in the beginning, I will not do any spoilers, but I can say that the original story, starting from the first game, comes to an end. But at the same time, it sets a perfect opportunity for a prequel, which would take place long time before Amicia and Hugo. Compared to the previous game, we now have slightly more open environments, different options to get past these environments, which will affect how Amicia develops skills. The first game felt like a puzzle solving almost all the time. This one, even though it's a lot about puzzle solving, it also feels more like action adventure game. My playstyle was not very sneaky. I had Amicia kill almost every soldier that were blocking my path. I would recommend this game especially for those who like a really good medieval fantasy story. After completing Bioshock 2, I have now seen the entire Bioshock series. I didn't complete the first game, I ended up watching it on YouTube. I liked Bioshock Infinity the best, probably because it was most story heavy and because you didn't constantly run out of ammo. In my opinion, running out of ammo was the biggest problem in the game. I played this one on easy mode, so it didn't matter that much. It got better towards the end and I played the final 4 hours of it in the same day. When it started to get more story heavy and more stuff started to happen, the game simply got a lot more interesting. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the game that I spent most amount of time playing this year. It was almost 100 hours before I saw the New Game Plus in the starting screen. I'm not planning to start New Game Plus, but this was my most anticipated game for this year and I had huge hopes for it. So I did buy the DLC as soon as I got the game, and I will be playing rest of the DLC content after it releases. I wanted to do some kind of collector's edition unboxing video, but now that we're living in the times of scalping everything and Nintendo handling collector's edition orders how they did, me and many others couldn't get the collector's box. I will probably get it later, but maybe just for my Switch collecting purposes. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a very good JRPG and if you like them, you might wanna consider investing your time to it. I played on normal difficulty and despite of almost 100 hours of game time doing a lot of the side content, I had some trouble beating the second or third last boss of the game. The final boss was just too long, but not too difficult for my party of 4 healers. I know it's not optimal, but I just wanted to make sure I don't have to start a final battle from the beginning. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 back in the day was my game of the year, and in my opinion 2 is the best Xeno game so far. I didn't find the story just as interesting this time, and the combat system was not my favorite either. The Xeno aspect, in my opinion, was not present that much. This might have been the final game of Xenoblade Chronicles series, and maybe that's a good thing, because the next one would probably be too much of the same, and now it's time to move on. We're still gonna get that final story DLC, and I will probably say something about it in December next year. Quarry has this constantly repeating hold your breath mechanic, in which you just hold a button until the screen flashes red, and it always succeeds. It offers no challenge whatsoever, and the amount of repeats of this one mechanic makes these games sometimes feel less than mediocre. It was very close to when you can choose to fire a shotgun, but at least then you get to shoot something, so it doesn't feel so boring. The story feels like it's missing half of the content, and the writing is very poor. There are way too many meaningless choices, and I guess the one thing this game often succeeds is how surprisingly your characters can die. I managed to keep most of them alive all the way to the end, but in the end all of the human characters died. Then I just ended up watching the entire thing on YouTube and checking how I should have saved all of the characters. I would say this game is worth your time, but it's not worth paying the full price, not even close. That was all the games I completed 2022. I'm currently playing Tactics Ogre Reborn on Switch. I will be playing God of War Ragnarok, and also probably at least Horizon Zero Dawn DLC, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, Resident Evil Village DLC, Atelier Ryza 3, Octopath Traveler 2, Pikmin 4. We shall see if there is gonna be a new Legend of Zelda game next year. I wish you Happy New Year and see you in the next video. Bye.